Let's move on to the first fireside chat session of the day. The topic is the Next-Gen Makeover, Indian Realty's changing face. Yes, the face of Indian Realty is changing with the young leaders of the sector. I welcome our eminent speakers of this session. Let me welcome Ms. Gagan Singh. She is a Group Chief Evangelist and Culture Anarock Group. Gagan Singh is a general management expert and has over 30 years of experience across multiple sectors. She has consistently achieved success in reviving businesses that are in trouble or need to scale up through better processes and rhythm. She manages to make dysfunctional teams work better together. Our other speaker of this session is Ms. Sangeeta Prasad, Group Chief Executive Officer, Runwal Group. With over 30 years of experience, Ms. Prasad has a deep expertise in conceptualizing, strategizing, and delivering urban ecosystems, understanding of commodities business, and JV management. She is a thought leader in sustainability and has demonstrated capabilities in brand building and people leadership. So this is our eminent speaker introduction for this session. Ms. Gagan Singh, I hand it over to you now.
Thank you so much, Sapna. And hi, Sangeeta. Delighted and honored that I'm having this conversation with you. It's not the first time we're doing it. The topic is different, but believe me, every time I talk to you, it always ends up with me feeling really energized and inspired. So excited about today. Let's come to the topic because the time is short. The topic we've been given is how prepared is the Indian realty sector for the new generation of digital natives? Now, we've seen digital being revolutionized in the past 2 years across sectors, including real estate. It was happening, but COVID gave it a huge impetus. There was no choice at that time. And in fact, India stood out as a country that embraced digital wholeheartedly. We were way ahead of other countries. Now, let's come to the relevance to our sector and to how you're dealing with it. Tell me, what are your views about this whole new world and how you're handling it in your life at work? General.
You know what? Human beings are the most adaptable species history has shown.
Sangeeta, can we get you a little up because we can see only part of, yeah, that's nicer. Thanks. Thanks. Yeah.
Just let me do some. Life is all about managing, uncertainties. So I hope I've been able to live up to your sudden request. So I hope this is fine.
Yeah.
Before I step into the digital world, I would like to say we as human beings, history has shown, have been always. Hello, can you hear me? There was some interruption in between.
Yeah, sorry, just carry on.
Are the most adaptable species. Through wars, through ravages, we have pivoted ourselves to the new world order. And so it's nothing surprising that we, during COVID, also pivoted ourselves. We have gone through misery, we have gone through uncertainty. But I think the best quality I see in people who shine is how do they find silver lining in dark clouds. That's what I must say humbly the real estate sector has tried to do during these uncertain and difficult times. And I suppose digital is one such pivot. I believe first it's the mind which believes in changing things and then uses tools and tackles. So till some time back, it's not that digital has become...
Right में रखना है यार, तुम left में रख के उसको on मारते तुम. ये left turn के लिए.
Can the host please mute
नहीं
Rahul
right में जा.
Thomas? Mr. Rahul Thomas, will you please go mute?
You know what has happened because of this and the way the things have changed? It was not that the world was not going digital. Let's not be very, hoity-toity about it. The world around has been going digital for a long while. But let me just step back and say, everyone thinks digital is about sales and marketing. I do not agree with that because I think digital is about construction. Digital is how you manage your people. It's just a mechanism. It's a catalyst which enables us to become more prepared, more ready to serve the most important person in our life, and that's our customer. So I would exhort the audience here, when you think digital, don't just think sales and marketing. Think about what you need to do in your organization, in your processes, in your people management. Most importantly for the young leaders, your mindset. Are you looking at decision making, empowerment? How do you become fleet-footed? How do you identify your customer? And I'll talk about it a little later. I thought as an opening statement, I wanted to broad spectrum the world of digital rather than make it narrow scope and say, kitna leads aaya digital ke through? Arey, tumne wo ad laga diya kya social media mein? I don't think we should think like that. Over to you, Gagan. You have to unmute
Agree totally, but I'm going to go to the narrow first and then I'll go to the broad. But I agree with you, the 360-degree vision or approach has to work. But let's come to what we are all, sort of familiar with, or what we think makes the business happen. So what do you as a leader do? How are you deciding your marketing strategy to own the space? Are you going hybrid? Are you going only digital? How are you doing the allocation? What is your approach to own this space?
So, the marketing strategy starts with the customer first, and that's a drastic change which has happened. From defining a customer segment, now we are using digital to sharpshoot to the individual customer, building intimacy of target, and that we can do only through the digital space. Through artificial intelligence, through machine learning, how do we understand? So, Gagan, you and I get ads and you think, "Arey, ye to main subah soch rahi thi." Oh, how did they know I needed this today? So that's the advantage of digital. If I have to just put it very crisply, digital has helped us pivot to the intimacy of targeting an individual customer from a large broad spectrum segment. So when we are doing a marketing strategy, if we are saying we are launching a project in Thane, which is the demographic we are launching? So how do we understand what does that demographic need and want? And therefore, can I use digital to reach out to people from our database and sharpshoot the communication to them? So that's one. Is it that the world has totally turned digital? After all, we are human beings. Just sharpshooting is not enough. Today's customer is not just looking at the product, they are looking at experiences. And I'm speaking on behalf of the customer. I, as a customer, just don't look at the product. I look at experiences, I look at values. So it's a bit of yin and yang. I just can't go digital and virtual and not be physically felt. So am I using the digital route to give more access, more contact, more responsiveness to our customer? So it is a two-way street. How do I reach out to specific customers? How do I enable through tools and tackles, apps? And so what does that mean? If I have to be more accessible, more responsive, are my people, am I more accessible and responsive? How am I training the organization in the front as well as behind that, when a customer is reaching out, what kind of behavior as a leader do I exhibit? So if a customer issue comes, do I delegate or do I put my front foot forward? Do I demand from my colleagues? Do I listen to the customer? These are some of the inputs which we are bringing in the marketing strategy. And let me tell you, it's for survival. It is nothing rocket science. If we don't do it, we are dead. Unmute yourself.
Sorry, you are seeing a response, so that's great. Now, since you went to broader to talking about yourself and the employees, what about digital with your vendors, contractors, everyone? Because you're into construction, you're into real estate, and you could market all you want, but your projects could get delayed and land up in deep trouble, which we know exists big time in India. Yes. So what are you doing in the digital space there, just to enlarge the
Prashant. Prashant.
Oh, yeah, carry on talking. It'll come.
I think the digital space is sometimes very intrusive also, unknowingly so.
And it needs management, as we can see. It needs management. It doesn't just go smoothly. Here's the best test case. I agree.
So coming back to your question, one of the good things, touch wood, the two brands whether it is Mahindra or Runwal, one of the things which I believe in real estate has rankled the minds of customers is on-time quality delivery. So before I even venture and say that, I am good, are my building blocks literally and figuratively in place? So that's exactly the point. And then how do I communicate to my customers, and then how do my partners? And Gagan, I think I don't have to tell you, Anarock is one of our key partners in the sales and marketing space. And I know we go demanding all over on you, and you all come back to us with more responsiveness, more agility. But on the partnership in the vendor space, there are 2-3 areas where we have invested and we will be investing further. One is in the area of, am I as a leader aware of what's happening in all my projects? While I have my reviews, are my reviews becoming real time online? So we have invested in partners in technology which helps us to understand real time. I can go into the site and see what's happening. So that's one very, very important thing which we have invested, and we are investing, and we are exhorting them. And there is this thing of, am I demanding as a leader? Am I telling, nahi, main review Excel sheet se nahi karungi, PPT se nahi karungi, please let's click on to that technology I have invested in. And what is happening? The partners are also realizing, now we mean business. It is not about batch processing, it's about real-time online. So we are doing that in various forms, both at the execution level, even the quality level. So I'll just explain a little more detail in this. So when my construction manager is trying to produce or construct on schedule, there's a quality and safety manager who goes in and sees whether in-process quality is happening. And then through the checklist, they are actually plugging in what the issues are. And therefore, we get real-time data on turnaround time. And if there is a quality issue, how is it getting mitigated? And we are not moving on and realizing that the quality issue will come later on as a batch processing. Are we there fully? No. But the journey has begun, and the intent, because you can't go digital front face with the customer and they demand agility, and you are still in your old space trying to do batch processing when real-time partners and technology are available. That's how we are navigating and pivoting the space. And it is not perfect. We are learning every day, but we are surely better than yesterday.
So coming to your team, you're doing a lot, you're leading it, you're definitely clued on. We've got the new generation, and we've got people who are experienced, like, look at the color of my hair, and yes, both of us. How are you handling this change internally? Because you'll have the laggards or the non-believers or the people who just say, I can't, but they're critical. So what have you done to bring about this cultural change inside?
All of this is a journey in progress. And I wouldn't like to say that, change management in a company is a dynamic process. It has nothing to do with whether we are digital or physical. And you will always have different kinds of people. One of the things which I've always tried to do all along, not only in the current reality, is the fact that younger people understanding, and this is a thumbs up to the 40 under 40 and the many under 40, younger people are smarter than me. They know the world better than me. So why not leverage them and not sit on a pedestal? Because whatever it is, with our gray area and experience, the state of obsolescence which is happening. Every day the world is changing. So I love not only interacting, but learning from the youngsters. And when you have a breed of young, agile people, because one of the key things which has happened in the world is the space of obsolescence. So when you have obsolescence, you need agility. And when you have to have agility, you need to know what's happening around you every day and even going forward. So this is the we were talking about hybrid. The hybrid is about the type of people. It is not about hybrid of access, which is obvious. We use jargons. You notice I'm not trying to use jargons, because we must know the soul of the thing rather than use external facets. So one of the things is, how are young people? So yesterday we were in a meeting and we were talking about a digital experience center. And I hope the boys and girls who I demand a lot from them, this is a toast to my younger colleagues. They, created for me a full canvas of, if I have a digital experience center, so important, good partners, agile, forward-looking partners, not just the partners who have done it big in the last 40 years, but young startups. In fact, when I was as a jury looking at 40 under 40, Gagan, I was very selfish. I said, इन चारों को मिलना है, क्योंकि ये तो बहुत अच्छे लग रहे हैं technology के लिए. So, always keeping our eyes and ears open, because we may have a tendency, I know everything, but I know the least. So that's where I believe that as a leader, how do I bring in more potential? How do I encourage others, both at a partnership level and a people level? And that means, again, as I said in the beginning, journey in progress. How do I create an ecosystem? How do I make people feel that it's not hierarchy, but knowledge which rules? And if we don't as leaders do that, we will become obsolete. So that's my personal stance.
Such a great statement. It's no longer hierarchy that rules. It is knowledge, and knowledge exists so much with the younger generation, and we've got so much to learn. How are you tackling the older, more experienced people? I mean, I know you're learning from them. Are they keeping pace? Are they excited enough? Or you find that you have to make special efforts to bring them along or bring them at pace? Because anyway, you're showing it's going from the top, and this has to go from the top. There's no way, very difficult for it to be bottom up, right? It has to be top down. So just a few lines on how you're handling the over 40s.
So first I have to handle myself, since I'm over 40. Am I keeping track of things, what's happening, having the humility and the consciousness to understand that? The other is, let's recognize the world is not equal, and you will not have people of the same kind. So identify people. It's the classical theory of change management. There are innovators, there are early adopters, and then there are followers, and there are laggards. So I use the same philosophy. Identify people who are willing to, but may not have the wherewithal to. I prefer willing to more than the wherewithal to. Because if people are willing, then they will put their best foot forward. So identifying a set of people. So it's a very push-pull, interactive, a bit of jerk here and there, bit of cajoling. It's the classical theory of change management, nothing different. Well, we are going from physical
part of what your role is, right?
Yes,
absolutely. And you can't just discard one and embrace the other. We have to coexist, and we have to motivate and make them come along.
And as I said, if we don't learn, and it's personal, we will suddenly realize the world has moved on.
Yeah.
And as we all realize that, it's good.
Right. And I think the younger generation keeps reminding us that we could get obsolete very fast. So
yeah,
that's really good. Now, I have a question going back to marketing. How do you calculate the ROI of digital efforts on your marketing and your brand building? How do you do that? How do you know whether you're getting your money for your bucks, your mile for your buck?
You're right. Earlier, we used to look at cost per lead and cost per sale, the classical definition of how do you measure. I'm not saying those classical definitions have gone, but now with digital, it's not only conversion rate by channel, it is conversion rate by device. These are the new things which we need to. Have we brought in everything? No, but we are conscious that we will look at KPIs like conversion rate by device, exit rate, blog click-through rates, impressions, so net promoter, don't wait for the customer satisfaction score to come at the end of the day. So what we are during booking itself, so we are trying to put in processes where we look at net promoter score at all levels. The problem is when we do customer satisfaction at all stages, again, we go batch processing. At the end of the year, we go to that customer, and the reality is the recency effect works. So if he has or she has been happy with the booking and the waiting period, but I have given them a tough time in possession, my ratings for the previous will be totally distorted, and I'll get a view which is not correct. So some of these things we are putting in place. Then time invested in campaigns versus return. So, these are some of the things. traffic to lead. Some of these things we are trying to put in place. Cost per sales to बहुत जरूरी है, वो देखना ही है. But channel, device, click, exit rate, these are some of the things we are trying to adapt. And that needs the organization also to think and be agile and fleet-footed.
Yeah, coming to organization, you're a CEO and you have promoters. So do you find it's easy to get the budgets that are required? Because it's not small money we are talking of. You know, the teams that companies have now, I know at Anarock and I'm sure at Runwal also, it's a big investment and it's a large team that has to work on it. And it takes time it's slow progress to get where you want and, you know, that get bang on to hit target as to what your wish list is. So how is that for you?
No, I think the first thing in our organization, which I represent now and I am a CEO in, is the understanding and the candor and respect between the promoter and the professionals. Are we in it for a common purpose? And the good thing I've learned is, I'll just lightheartedly talk about the Maruti ad, kitna deti hai. So, you know, kitna deti is the question, which, and then I realized that in a promoter-driven organization, it is faster. The agility is much higher. So what we need to bring in is that conviction and the candor and respect. And that's what is, you know, so when we are looking at change management, how do you put those points on paper, explain, and put the elephant? What I find better and convenient is putting even the elephant on the table. And that means having candor and respect. That's the approach I've always used in my life, and I'm using it. And touch wood, I believe candor, transparency, disagreement, dissent to a common solution works better rather than keeping something to yourself and wondering why this is not happening.
Yeah, totally. And that's what I said. So inspiring. Absolutely. Having the courage and the candor. And that is what gets the respect and the budgets that one wants and the freedom to do what you want. Obviously, you have to see the results and the results will speak for themselves. But that's,
therefore, sorry for interrupting.
Not at all. Please carry on. It's your space.
Again, as I am saying, some of these KPIs you don't wait. So you're leveraging on the various tools and tackles. You have, so your chief marketing officer will not wait for the month to see what is happening. He or she will look, in fact, a CMO does that. She does it more frequently, weekly. तो ये वाला चल नहीं रहा है, मेरा conversion rate by channel चल नहीं रहा है, तो इसमें चलते हैं, इसमें नहीं चलते. That agility, and I think the word agility is not about technology, it's about people. So how is your review cadence? It is not necessary at all senior levels you have to review daily, but is your team getting equipped and are you demanding them of that? So some of these tools are becoming more and more relevant. The agility and this, again, I bring the word obsolescence. I know I've repeated it 5 times, but that is the prime mover in today's world.
Yeah, I call it hand on the pulse. It's you know, it's really being that doctor.
Your pulse puts up too high, please do something about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talk about, when to see the impact, we say, ganne se pura juice nikla ya nahi. The whole effort is to say, you know, when it's leads or whatever, we are using AI, ML, etc., to make sure that we get the juice out of every bit of digital, technology that we use to process and assess quality of leads, etc. It's such an important part. But you're so right. It can't be just marketing. It has to be the whole organization. It has to be a change of mindset, and right from leadership to the bottom level. And it can only, of course, the youngsters will love it and they will push us to do it, but also making a change as far as our more experienced and seasoned members of the team are concerned. So I think now it's time for us we can open it up for questions, unless you want to add anything, Sangeeta, as a parting shot. Let's open it up to questions, please. Sapna, who's handling the question answers?
Yes, so that was quite a stimulating conversation. You both have been in the industry for 3 decades now. And now, not only the second gen, but even the third generation is coming in the industry. So from both our speakers, Gagan, if you go first, how have you seen the real estate industry changing with the new, the third generation, the second generation now coming in, and first generation also being there? How are you seeing the industry now evolving?
Oh, it's been a great journey, and the evolution has been great. It's no longer, first of all, the best have survived, and the rest have fallen, on the side, and the best have survived. And of course, with RERA, etc., we've understood that this cannot be treated like a khosla ka ghosla industry. Right? And youngsters are coming in. Digital has made a big difference. There are new business models coming in on how to, we have the mandate strategy, which was not there 6 years ago. The whole approach is changing. The youngsters are bringing in so much more idea. Technology is so much there. We are almost like, technology companies working in real estate. And the market has grown. The service providers have grown so much. And we've got really, I think, the survivors are really good quality, strong, multi-project, large developers who have the money to invest and really move the bar up. So the bar has moved up significantly. And whereas at least when I joined real estate, I was told, are you crazy getting into this industry? And now it's almost like campus, it's becoming an aspirational industry to come into. So it's been a huge change. I guess Sangeeta would like to.
That's good to know. It's an aspirational industry now, becoming for the younger generation. Ms. Prasad, you again, you've seen, you have interacted, you've been on the ground working with first gen, the second gen, and now maybe the third generation also. How are you seeing this evolvement? And is there some kind of a conflict you see between the generations? What is your experience?
First of all, there are no three generations, there are multi-generations, because earlier, and I link it to again obsolescence, earlier there was a generation between a parent and a child. Now there is a generation between two siblings who are 5 years apart, because things are changing so fast that you can't, first of all, we have to get it off our minds that there is a parent-child generation, there is a sibling-sibling generation. I can see that in kids who are, someone is 20, someone is 25, the perspectives are different. So this is a very interesting insight, and I'm sure, Sapna, you would have seen it, that, the kids are changing very fast. So that's one hypothesis I would like to bring forward here. And the second is, as I said, and I would like to agree with Gagan, that people know how to adapt. If they don't adapt and be agile, they will get obsolete. So the ones who are surviving, they're realizing that I have to not only look inward to what my organization is, but also to look outward, what's happening around. And that, I think, as different generations, they need to spend time with each other. I told earlier in my discussion that I really love spending time with the younger people, because they teach me so much. And the humility of the older person to learn from the younger, and the maturity of the younger person to learn from the older is the key. And as long as, and I think the elder person has to put the best foot forward. I believe the generosity should come from the person who's senior. And that's the philosophy I always speak to people who are around me. Tum boss ho to tum aage badho. Don't wait for the junior to come and see you. We do the reverse usually.
Reverse mentoring. It's almost like reverse mentoring.
So that is becoming more and more relevant. And that's how I think we can all work together and celebrate our differences.
Okay, fantastic. I think the key takeaways from this discussion is that, the things are changing so fast, we cannot say generational. I think every 5 years, as Ms. Sangeeta Prasad said, there are differences of opinions between people with 5 years difference. So it's no more 10 years or parent children. And secondly, the generosity of learning from each other. Like our speaker said, the seniors have to be generous enough to learn from the next generation or the younger generation, and the younger generation mature enough to take the experience or the learnings from their seniors. In terms of consumers, you spoke about how consumers are now more digital savvy and all. But in terms of, if we are talking about residential, so what are their top three preferences when they look for a project? Is it the location? Because now we are seeing with hybrid working, they are also open to, tier 2 cities or suburbs. Is it the amenities that they are looking at, or, what is exactly the, the smart features? What exactly is their top 3 preferences, Ms. Prasad?
So location will continue to be a very important parameter. But along with location, and especially after COVID, what has happened, people are looking at individual spaces also. So there are 3 kinds of spaces people are looking at: my space, our space, and community space. So that is why, working backwards, how are we looking at our design? How are we creating all 3 so that the person believes that, so space configuration and space allocation has become very key, apart from location. And obviously, as for the younger generation, minimalism and technology have become very important. Ornate, what should I say, over design, gawky, flamboyant spaces are becoming irrelevant. People, and I think we are all becoming very knowledgeable, all generations. We want to see that the space I get has functionality for me. It talks to me, I can interact with it. So these are some of the key things. And I think technology is again a given, because we are at one end, we are becoming mentally agile, but physically, and also physically agile in terms of going to the gym. Otherwise, we are sloth bears. I'm sure all of us will agree that people go to the gym and do yoga, but the other time we want to have everything in on our fingertips. So that understanding that yin and yang has become very important.
Okay, so the space, the smart spaces is something, how the space planning is done is something very important, apart from the location and technology, and minimalism is what Ms. Prasad is saying. Ms. Gagan Singh, today, as you, spoke about that earlier when you had entered this industry, there were very few avenues of investing in industry. You can buy property, that was, or land. Now we have so many other investment opportunities, especially for the young guys, as technology, fractional ownership, REITs are there, mutual funds, real estate mutual funds are there. So how are you seeing that kind of, consumer or, young investors' interest in real estate?
Well, real estate is really booming in India, unlike what's happening in other parts of the world, but it's really booming here. There are other pockets also, like Dubai is really booming. But 50% of investment is still going into real estate, in spite of all the competing products. So it stays. But yes, the number of investors percentage has reduced vis-a-vis actual occupiers, people who are buying it for themselves. So that change has happened. But it's a very, very rosy picture at the moment with real estate. And we are very, very excited about it as service providers to developers.
Correct.
It's looking very good.
Ms. Prasad, do you think these new real estate products are more, the younger generation is more inclined to these new products?
Actually, Sapna, younger generation has become very independent, and they don't like intrusion and they like flexibility. So some of these key things are making them look at, so, I'll give the example of a car. Earlier, when a family bought a car, it was for a lifetime. And then suddenly it became a fancy statement. So that's the same, but the speed of that change in real estate is not that high. Yes, people are looking at not acquiring, but having a space to live in, because, all these things, work from home, remote working is becoming relevant and much, much more imperative. So people are looking at, actually, can I have not full ownership, but shared ownership of multiple spaces? So that's also a phenomenon we are seeing. But is it becoming totally from the conventional to the, the new world? I think it will still take some time.
And if I may add, the younger generation has so much money compared to the earlier times that the younger generation is investing a lot in real estate also. And COVID created this demand. Some went home to live with their parents to save money, but a lot wanted their independence and their space. So the younger generation are a big component of the customers for real estate now.
That's right. A lot of industry reports have shown, how the home buyers, especially, the age is, decreasing, coming down drastically. On the closing note, any word of advice from our speakers, Ms. Prasad, going first, your advice for the younger generation professionals of this sector?
I think the younger generation is good. They are self-assured, confident. I think the only thing which will be required is patience and resilience, because one swallow does not make a summer.
That's
Like in
true.
real estate language, you launch a product well, but you have to sustain it too and deliver it well at the end of the lifetime.
That is true. That is true. Ms. Singh, your last words.
I'm laughing because the impatience word was the top of mind for me, because I work on the cultural aspect, and I'm dealing with, dealing with cases of ethics and impatience and, intolerance, etc. They're so bright, but in such a hurry. And somewhere I think this patience and letting things take their course is something that we need to instill, but they need to know we love them. They're really critical, and they are creating the future, and they are writing history at the moment. So they need to understand how much they are valued by the so-called senior management, and how fast they can rise. They have to look at role models to see that if they get it right, how fast they can rise. Age and number of years are not relevant at all these days. And this knowledge and this awareness is very important, and that can calm down the impatience and shift focus to more productive stuff.
That's right. So that is from our speakers. Yes, the real estate industry is changing with the younger generation coming in. A lot of learnings for all generations, for multi-generations, as our speakers have said. Impatience is what Ms. Prasad says, that that is something that one needs to caution against, because real estate is a long-term game. And Ms. Gagan Singh is saying it's all about mindset, not the age. So fantastic. Thank you, Ms. Gagan Singh, and thank you, Ms. Sangeeta Prasad, for being here with us, and that lovely conversation that we had with you. Thank you so much for sharing your time and expertise.
Thank you, Sapna. Thank you, Sangeeta. Always a pleasure. Bye-bye.
Thank you, and have a good weekend.
You too,
Thank you
everybody.
so much.